This is Dream Chasers, episode 52, with Lou Diamond. Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Adam Carswell, and welcome to Dream Chasers, Interviews with the Future. On Dream Chasers, we interview individuals with supernatural amounts of potential based on early success in their careers. Thank you for tuning in. Now let's get straight to the interview. Hey guys, this is Adam Carswell, and today I'm joined by Lou Diamond. Lou is the host of Thrive Loud. He went to Cornell University in Ithaca, New York, and now he lives just outside of the Big Apple, New York City. Lou, thank you for being on the show, and do you have any opening remarks for our listeners?
Adam, I am just excited to be here as we're recording this here on a Friday afternoon. We've got an amazing week going on, new one coming up. I'm just jacked. I'm all excited about chasing dreams, so I'm here.
Definitely. And we recently just had a pretty influential guy, I would say, in both of our lives, Joe Applebaum, a recent guest on the show. And I thought his episode was pretty good. He was number 50. We have another one here, episode 51. You're going to be episode 52. You have a couple weeks to build up the hype and tell Joe, hey, just so you know, like, my interview is actually going to be better than yours.
Well, that's obviously a given, because Joe, with all of his motivation and energy, is inspiring. But he's no Lou Diamond. So when it comes to this podcast platform, Joe, I got you, man. I got you. Anyway, but he's awesome. It was a good, fun episode. You did a great job with him, and he has a great story. So that's always fun.
Yeah, and so Thrive Loud, you just mentioned it to me offline. We're at what you said, episode 326 or so. So how long have you been doing the podcast?
It has been a while. We've been doing it for over 2 years. Actually, at the time of recording this, we just passed the 2-year milestone from our anniversary, which was 2017, May 1. Our 300th episode should air around the time that this thing comes out. But there's many more in the queue, obviously, as I mentioned. So yeah, it's been a fun ride. It has been incredibly informative. We are featuring those that are thriving in their lives, their businesses, and their passion each and every day. And the stories are not only inspirational, they are game changers. They really help people to put the right perspective and get a glance as to what really makes someone thrive in their life and how can they elevate themselves, and what are some of those things that you can do as a listener to learn from these great, amazing guests that we've had on the program and take it to the next level. Yeah.
Did you mean to say that on purpose? That's my tagline, right? Take it to the next level.
I'm reading it right in front of me. I'm good Freudian.
Okay. Perfect. Well, yeah, speaking of taking it to the next level, that's our next question. We are now going to enter the next level chamber. When did you realize this was something you wanted to take to the next level?
Well, I think if we rewind this back a little bit, I worked on Wall Street for a very long time. Before that, I had a career and worked for a technology firm and in consulting firms. And I have always been connecting companies and businesses and solutions together. And I've always also had a niche towards sales. So I've been helping to the art of connecting and really making sales last in long relationships. So when I started my company Thrive, which was just about 2014, I was driven to really help people. And I know this is a question you ask on the show, like, what's my why? I was put on this planet, Adam, to work with the most amazing people and companies and help them thrive through the power of connecting. And that's what Thrive is about, is helping people move onward and upward. So I'll work with top leaders, CEOs, marketing groups to help companies better position themselves and better connect. The book that I wrote, Master the Art of Connecting, obviously the philosophies within that are what is at the core of Thrive and how we work with companies to get them to thrive loud, for lack of a better word. And the podcast program became an extension of that. And what we really recognized was bringing these amazing people and these stories to the listeners was right in sync and in line with connecting great things together. So from Thrive to Thrive Loud and all of that, I guess it had happened maybe about 5-6 years ago when I recognized this was really what that purpose that I described of really helping people to truly move onward and upward through connecting. And that's something I've always been good at. And I've also been really good at helping people learn how to do it as well.
Perfect. And one thing that I really am looking forward to highlighting throughout this interview is, we like to look at projects, ideas, people, what have you, that are within their first 5 years of development and showing.
We just made it under the wire there.
Right. And you mentioned your 2 years with the podcast as well. So we see tremendous amounts of potential within these first few years here. What are you looking forward to, I would say, the most? And how, actually, I want to ask you this more about the podcast first. How have you seen that transform the business just in the last 2 years?
It really is kind of crazy. I'm looking at my bookshelf right now, Adam, and what I found really interesting was that when I started the show, I was proactively going to my network and my connections and bringing those relationships to the show. So I was being very proactive in going out and bringing those guests on the program. I'm actually taking a stick and shooing people away at this point because I get 3 to 4 inquiries a day from publishers, authors, great thought leaders. And it's really hard. It's not a matter of that I don't want everyone in the show, is that we want to make sure that we're bringing the right message and those that really have something that is going to be unique that we can position as a way to make people realize what Thrive Loud is. And there's only so many hours in the day. So I'm looking at this bookshelf here of all these books of great content of amazing people that we've had on the program and the lessons that I've learned. And I've had people come up to me who are regular listeners of the show will come to me and say, Lou, that particular guest, they really hit a home run. They really shared something that was totally out there. You did a great job in helping to unearth that out of them. I don't know if I'm doing it or not, but I think we're creating a forum where people actually feel upbeat afterwards. And that's kind of cool. So, 2 years plus in on the show with many more things to go, I think where we're heading is to continue to be on this quest to kind of decode how people are thriving and really bring incredible stories to life because there's so many of them. I also think it's great because it relates to great companies, entrepreneurial spirit, stories of human achievement. We've had people, I'm just thinking recently at the time we're airing this, most recently had Jimmy Choi on the program. Jimmy is a good friend of mine. Yeah. He is an American Ninja Warrior, like you see him on TV, and he competes in that competition. And Jimmy has Parkinson's. And this is an unbelievable achievement in itself. And he's raised tremendous awareness and obviously money for charities, running races, and obviously now on TV on American Ninja Warrior. We're rooting for you, Jimmy. Sometime late May, you'll hear his competition. But those type of stories of what people are able to achieve and do really defines what Thrive Loud is all about.
Yeah. And now I'm curious. And I remember I looked through some of your recent episodes now that we're talking about it. I think, did you have Raymond Ray on there recently?
Oh, I did. Yeah. Raymond and I are very good friends. We're both speakers for NSA out of the New York City chapter. That's like a hoot for our chapter. Yeah, which actually Joe Applebaum is as well. I think I brought him into the fold. I said, Joe, we need you here. And I'll add that, talk about a guy with sizzle and pop, as he likes to say often. Got so much energy. People were actually concerned that the two of us on the same podcast show might actually explode iTunes. But fortunately, we were able to keep it tame. Ramon controlled himself, but we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'm looking. He's going to be a guest here on Dream Chasers in a couple of weeks. So now nice. I've got a little bit of more insight on his, what did you call it, sizzle and pop?
Sizzle and pop, man. He is exactly what, when I think of him, he says it a lot when he speaks. So it just really, how can I sizzle? How can I pop? And that energy he brings on the stage and in person, it's on all the time. When they make the joke that, volume buttons go to 10 in that movie, where they say, well, this one goes to 11, Spinal Tap. Yeah, he's at a 14. So.
And so you've just mentioned Jimmy Choi. Have you had any other, I would say, athletes or celebrities or individuals of that similar caliber that maybe they're not doing their own podcast, but they're well known and they were on your show? I'm just curious.
We've had some incredible athletes on the show. We've had Jamal Mashburn, a former NBA great, who's an incredible entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. We've had Colby Cohen, who is the founder of Endeavor Athletic. He's a former NHL hockey player and went on. We've had from the New York Rangers, Mike Richter, who after his career in hockey, Stanley Cup champion from 1994 New York Rangers. I'm a big fan. Okay. And one of the best goalies ever. Richter actually, is the CEO of a company called Bright Core Energy, and he's really concerned about our carbon print and making sure we do things that are better for the environment. And he's actually leading a company with some LED light bulbs. And I know that sounds crazy, but he's helping in whatever way he really can. So those are just some of the athletes that have been on the program, and obviously we've also had a lot of entertainers and comedians and actors and actresses. So yeah, from the famous to the business leaders to the thought leaders to Joe Apfelbaum, we've had it all.
Nice. How do you think it's transformed your personal life? Just looking back at where you were maybe 2 years ago till now, you're like, wow, I wouldn't be living like this if it wasn't for my podcast.
Well, I think it's eliminated a lot of my date nights with my wife just because we're recording late at night now. I'd say the thing that's most interesting, and this is something that I have learned about podcasting, is I never really realized how much it's helped me in the work that I do through the company Thrive and helping me be a better consultant, because being a podcast host means I have to be a better listener. And in being a better listener, I get to ask better questions. And I'm going to steal a trill or a run from a great guest on the program, Phil M. Jones, who's a great speaker and a good friend of mine. Phil always says, you ask great questions that lead to conversations that build relationships with the people you do business with. And the podcasting forum, in an interview forum, just like we're doing right here, empowers us as hosts to listen very intently and reactively. So when I'm doing that with my clients, I'm connecting with them through that by being a really empathetic listener. And understanding what their world is about. That's what podcasting enables me to do and practice every day I'm doing interviews. So to be able to carry that over is great. It also enables me to think kind of quick on my feet, because I love my show is a very reactive and conversational nature, just like ours is right here, Adam.
Yeah.
And to bring that to light, I've learned that that there's a real funny story. The format of my podcast show was because it was everything that was not some of the podcast programs I had been on before I became a podcast host, because there were some that were just too contrived, too planned, too rigid, with not enough wiggle room where I would not be able to flex authenticity. And that's what I wanted. I know that the magic of the show is not Lou Diamond, the host of Thrive Loud. The magic of the show are those that are thriving, that are on the show, the guests. We got to make them shine, just like we got to make our clients shine, just like we got to make our connections shine. By doing that, we're empowering them to own and let their superpower come out. And Thrive Loud became a forum to do that. So that has really, it's helped me as a leader, and it's helped me really deliver great solutions for my customers and my clients.
Yeah, I feel like, at least I hope right now, it feels like your superpower is coming out for our listeners to hear too.
Then you're doing your job, Adam. You're doing a great job and great listening and asking great questions.
Yeah, and it goes back to a very popular book. Most listeners, guys, if you haven't read this book yet, check it out. How to Win Friends and Influence People. I mean, yeah, it all starts with listening, right?
The hardest part about listening is that we go in thinking we know a lot and we want to say something because we feel that we have power in telling someone something. But the real power is actually in asking someone something. So there's an ask-tell matrix that I do this a lot in workshops and working with companies as to, we think that when we tell someone something, that's where the message is. And we learned that early on when we were young, Adam, right? Teachers would tell us something and we knew it was right. So that person who was telling us must have been the expert. And doctors and lawyers and professionals would tell us those things. But as we got older, we didn't necessarily always believe all the things we were told, but we also knew that when we asked questions, we heard answers that were so much from a different perspective, gave you an additional piece of info. Like, yeah, I could tell you what I know right now, but if I asked you, Adam, what you know or what you think about something, that's additive to the solution of the topic we're talking about. That's just a much better conversation. And that's why in many of the conversations that I'll have with my guests, while I ask them, even though the guests might be telling me their thoughts and their solutions, I'll also jump in as well so we can give a real conversation about it so that those two ideas can meld together. And that's fun in doing that as a host.
Absolutely. And now I want to ask you, just from a podcaster to a podcaster, we went over before the interview the questions that we might use throughout this. And that was something that I was very rigid on early on. If you go back to some of our earlier episodes of Dream Chasers, it was like the same questions every time. And then boom, light bulb came on after I interviewed someone who pointed it out to me. So I ask you now for any advice or tips that you've noticed that help you continue to make your conversations just flow, just make them real,
Yeah, I think flow is a great word, Adam. I think you are driving the bus and you know that there's a point A and a point B, that destination we're trying to get to. And I know that there are some rigid questions, which you're going to ask at the end, which will be fun. And we'll get to that part of the program. But what happens in between is like you're giving a guideline, and it's very possible that I might provide the answers, or the guest might provide the answers in the conversation from the questions that you've asked, because they can go on and you can let them be, because it flows that way. Mm-hmm. If we just robotically gave yes/no responses or just one sentence answers, it wouldn't be a very engaging conversation, would it? Or wouldn't be that fun for your listeners to listen to. So part of your job is to kind of like let things go, and where you need to rein them in, do that. And where you feel it's going and the energy is there and it's exciting, and if it's making you intrigued, then you have to feel that it's going to do the same for your listener. That would be the words of advice. So it's an art. And you will only get better with it with each coming episode.
Cool. So the one thing that I'm intrigued right now is I want to make this interview and this conversation keep going, but I know we are getting closer to the end now.
There you go. You're pulling the reins, doing your job, Adam. I like
it. So we got the three fun questions for you at the end, but
I'm ready.
I guess I want to throw one more at you here before we get into those, which is, looking back at your creation of Thrive Loud and the podcast, we can kind of just put it all into one basket for this question. What's an example of something you wish that maybe you would have done differently looking back?
I wish I would have put the tools in place to help me manage the podcast itself, and the timing and the organization and the management of the business of the podcast. I wish I put into place what I have now today sooner. I didn't think that the animal of Thrive Loud would become as big and as busy as it would be. And having a very regimented schedule, having really good guests come on, having a day that I do recording, a day that the team does editing and all the other stuff and all the promotions, the schedules. I wish I had those systems in place earlier on, because I kind of hesitated and ad hoc'd it along the way. If I knew now what I knew then, I would have just done all of that in the beginning, and it would have made life a little more smooth, a little smoother as it related to making sure the production of the show went as well as it has, but it would have been even better.
Right. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, getting those systems in place, and it goes from working hard to working smart, right?
Yeah. Perfect. Perfectly summed up.
All right. So here we go. 3 fun questions for everyone to get to know Lou Diamond a little bit more today. First one is, Lou, what was your favorite thing about going to college at Cornell University? Second one is, what is your favorite fruit? I know it's random, but hey, what's your favorite fruit? And then the third one, putting the pressure on you, who was your favorite guest on?
I'm still laughing about that last one, because I'll probably get shot. Okay. So, my favorite thing about Cornell, it has to be the friendships. I still have my closest friends in life from my college years, and I maintain many of them. Some of my closest friends are from school, and that is the thing that, establishing those friendships from school has made me who I am. There's also a work hard, play hard, which falls in line very much with these particular friends of mine who all do that. And having the work hard, play hard mentality is something I took from Cornell and continue to do each day. So those would be that combination of the two, that they're almost one and the same.
Nice.
My favorite fruit, I want to say this is a seasonal question, but since summer is not too far away, I'm going to go with a really good cherry plum. I love plums, specifically on the beach. When they're in season, plums are awesome. So I know that doesn't hold well year round, but that would be bananas. Bananas would be a close second, because I probably eat a banana every day. But plums would be my favorite of that. Now you ask Adam the question. It's just ridiculous. All right. So I'm going to go with the safe answer. And that was, I even know the episode number, episode 101. Episode 101 of Thrive Loud. By popular demand from many of my family members, friends, people who know me my entire life, I had both of my sisters as guests on the podcast show.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we basically talked about what it was like growing up with me as a brother. So it was really the two of them just, either making fun of me or being ridiculous or doing what we do all the time. So to be safe and to be ever able, if they ever heard Adam Carswell's podcast and Dream Chasers and they heard this episode, if I said some other guest other than the two of them, I'd be in trouble. So.
Right. There you go. You got playing your cards right. There you go.
Playing it very safe, but it was a good episode. It was a lot of fun.
Nice. Lou, what's the best way for our listeners to contact you or follow up after this?
If you're on the interweb or internet, whatever you call it, I know you're Canadian, so there's a lot of fun ways to call it. You can go to thriveloud.com and you'll be able to access everything about my business Thrive and the Thrive Loud podcast. You also can get linked over to loudiamond.net, which is my speaker page. And everywhere in social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, you can find me at Thrive Loud.
Boom.
Boom. Bam. We got it. We nailed it.
We did. Guys, actually, first I should say, Lou, thank you one more time.
Adam, truly a pleasure to be on your program. You're doing a great job. Can't wait to continue to see you thrive loud on all these programs that you're doing here on Dream Chasers.
Thank you so much. Guys, thank you for tuning in to Dream Chasers, Interviews with the Future. We will catch you in the next episode. And remember, in all you think, say, and do, take it to the next level.